These are one of the most budget-friendly adjustable lever arms that takes a lot of the features that other people are doing one-offs on and combines them together. Let's review it. Hey guys, this is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. These are the Griffin Fitness Adjustable Lever Arms 2.0. Now, we recently reviewed the PRX Halo Arms. From a product perspective, those things are incredible. They're the ones I'm using in my gym. Now, I do want to say there is a lot of controversy around PRX, and I think for good reason. I actually have a video I've done on this. If you'd like to see it, you can check it out. If you're looking for a more budget-friendly option to those, also one that doesn't have as much controversy surrounding it because they didn't patent the features on it, these are ones to look at. These are from Griffin Fitness. We've reviewed a few things from Griffin Fitness in the past. I will say they teased these. I actually looked back on our Facebook group. I saw the first tease of these in like 2021. And then I saw like one person with them that posted about them. I can't find like anything on them. And finally, 2024. 2021 feels like a long time ago. But we now have them in person, have been able to test them and compare them to others that are on the market. And I have very mixed opinions. There are some very positive things about these. One of those is the price, but there are some dang negative stuff. So I'm gonna walk through it. Okay, now also, if you're looking for a jam arm that has some adjustability, we do have another set coming in. They're from Knurled Fitness. They're the free motion swing arms. If you'd like to see that review, let me know in the comments and make sure you subscribe because they'll be forthcoming. Now, I will say, as I get into the review on these, the functionality of these lever arms that are designed to kind of mimic machines and isolation movements is still not fully baked out. There are still so many ways to improve these, and I would really like to see companies spend time on it because they can be very beneficial in a home gym setting. So if you're waiting for like the version to come out, it's probably still gonna be a while, so it may be worth picking up a set and then upgrading over time. But recognize companies that are out there, please keep improving this category because I think they can be really good. Now, what's unique about these is they're designed to have both full vertical movement and side-to-side movement. And they can do full vertical movement and lock in. Really, that's a feature that is, I feel like, almost required at this point. Rogue Fitness, for instance, they were one of the ones to really popularize a jammer arm. Sorenex was one of the first ones to come out with an adjustable one. Then Rogue did their take on it. The LT1 50 cal trolley series, they now have a 2.0. They're very well made, very well done, but they don't lock in. At this point, buying those, recommending those for home gym owners doesn't make sense unless you can lock them in. There's companies like Vendetta, who I would say really like, they're the ones who came up with the idea to lock the arms out. Either them or Gavin Laird, like you can figure out all the semantics, but Vendetta made such that you could add plates to it. Then Kaizen did a collaboration with Gym Pin and they came out with the ability to side-to-side sway and lock in on the side-to-side sway. So companies have seen those and decided to implement those in a single product. Now, one reason people aren't as upset with something like Griffin is because they're not patenting the idea on it. Whereas PRX, they decided to patent the idea, and that's one of the reasons that people are so upset with them. But these do a lot of those same things that the PRX one do, but at a lower price. And one of the ways that they do that is they lock in going up and down. Now, they have 5 holes to lock in the jam arms in different positions. That is not as good as Vendetta or PRX Halo Arms. PRX Halo Arms actually has 17 holes to lock in. If you're into percentages, that's a 240% increase. It's just a lot more optionality. The reason that matters is because it increases versatility and increases where you lock in. I noticed, depending on the movement, if I'm going from shoulder press to incline, having those extra holes helps a lot. 5 is just not as good. It's just not as good. I want more holes. Just like you want more holes on the upright, so you have more optionality, you want more holes, especially on these. So 5 is better than 0, but 5 is worse than having a lot more. So that's one of my critiques with this. If you're looking for like the ideal option, this is probably gonna leave some things lacking in terms of the lockability because it just has 5. But I will say the places they put the 5, is pretty good. It's in places that you'd really use. If I'm just setting up for bench or shoulder press or some of those things, the 5 holes work fine. Now, they also have a hole where you can lock it, so it's basically used as an upright. This is something that I think Rogue was one of the first ones to do, but this allows you to lock it so it's vertical. If you want to use it like an upright, you can use it just like that. And thanks to the 11 gauge 3x3 1-inch hole pattern that they have on the uprights, it's basically a squat rack and will feel similar to what most people are using on their squat racks. They have laser cut numbers on the uprights, something that's really nice, something that I said PRX should have done, and they're doing it on a cheaper price point, which is very nice. Now, the way they're locking these in, you can probably tell, is with magnetic knurled pins. One thing I will say about just overall this product from Griffin is they are in some ways majoring on the minors and maybe in others minoring on the majors. Here's what I mean by that. Some of the details are just really well done and thought through. But then some of the functionality of those details, it just leaves a little bit to be desired. For instance, the pop pins that are used are exactly what I told PRX they should have done. They had basically those joystick pop pins that sucked. These have magnetic pop pins similar to what you find from Oak Club. They're chrome though, they look really cool. They have their logo etched on the outside, which I actually like their logo, looks pretty cool, and they're magnetic. The problem with them is the magnets fall out of the pin, which is no bueno. When you pull the pin out, actually on one of them, I noticed as I was pulling it out, the magnet stuck to the upright and pulled right out. You can fix that with crazy glue, but also I do not like small magnets around my children. What ends up happening is they swallow the magnets. This hasn't happened before, but I know it's something that has happened in the past from other people. And then you get a magnet in your stomach and then you can end up wearing a hole in your stomach. It's like a real thing. Small magnets should always be secured very heavily. So the fact that they're falling out of the pop pins is just not good. It's just something that's like small but overlooked, and you can fix it. It's just like, it's annoying. But they're using those pop pins in both a bigger pop pin, a 1-inch pop pin to secure the trolley, but also the 5/8-inch pop pin so you can secure the arm in the different holes. Just a nice feature. I'm glad they did that. I just wish they would have made them a little bit more secure with the magnets. But this does have the ability to lock it out vertically. It also has the ability to side-to-side sway. Now, one of the differences between this and one of the reasons that the Halo arms are superior to these in this regard is the fact that these don't lock in side to side. They lock in one position, and then you basically pull the pop pin out, turn it 90 degrees, and it pulls the pop pin out, allowing the arm to swivel. This is actually a very similar functionality, if not the same functionality that PRX used on the Halo arms. The difference is PRX also has a plate behind it so you can lock it in side to side. One thing I will say on that idea, when I use the swivel feature on my Halo arms, I'm using it like unlocked. I don't really oftentimes lock them so they're closer. The reason for that is because you're not changing the angle of the handle. So it's not like a machine. The idea of these is like to get closer to machines, but because there's no like articulation, like angling of the actual arm, the handle just feels kind of awkward, feels kind of weird when it's close in. It's just okay. So I'm really glad they offer the option for the swivel, and I'm not really that upset that they don't offer the side to side. It would have been a nice feature to have, just to have. But one way that I do use it with the arms that lock in side to side, like the PRX Halo arms, is you can lock them in and then you can attach something like a Beyond Power Voltra and use it like a free motion functional trainer, which is sick. But I would guess that most people buying this at this price point aren't also buying two $2,000 Beyond Power Voltras, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. So just understand, if you're looking for this and you're like, should I get this? It doesn't have the feature to lock it in. I don't think that's as big of a component as the ability to lock it vertically. Now to the adjustment trolley that sits on the upright. It's okay. So it has rollers, they're using UHMW plastic, it's able to go up and down. The way that you unlock the trolley is you pull out the magnetic knurled hitch pin, boop, and then you also have this pop pin on the back that swivels. It basically has this lever on it. You swivel it out. It's beveled, so it automatically pulls it out, but it keeps it on the upright. I really like this feature, actually. You grab the knurled handle that's on the side, which is a very nice feature, and looks very similar to what Sornex is doing. It's good position, easy to grab, and then you adjust it up and down. Here's where kind of I say it's just okay. Number one, it's not very secure against the uprights. This rack that I have it on, this Fringe Sport Dane rack, uses 75 by 75 millimeter uprights, call it 3x3, but they're actually 75 by 75. Griffin, the GR3, uses the same 75 by 75. I'm guessing they made this to test with the rack, and I will say it's just loose. Too loose up against the upright. Our assembly technicians, we've tried to secure it tighter up against the upright. It just has more play than really you would like. For dynamic movements, that's very annoying, very annoying. For isolation movements, because you're moving slower, it's not as big of a deal, but it's not ideal. Again, you're paying less than say you would with other brands, and so you're expecting less, and that's one of the areas that it's just less, it's just worse. It's not as tight against the upright. It's annoying, but I think for the price, you're like, it can be a fine workaround. Then the second feature that makes these a little bit annoying in terms of moving is they're freaking heavy. They're just like, for a trolley arm, it's one reason I think they don't put the weight of them on their website. It's usually sus anytime a company leaves off a very important spec. These things are just heavy to move up and down. They're annoying to just go up and down with them. Part of that though is the fact that the handles of these things, which I'm gonna review next, are just extremely heavy. They're very heavy. They're using full 11 gauge 3x3 tubing, and some probably 7 gauge or thicker. Like, they're making them so they're strong. So you're not gonna really worry about the sturdiness of the product, but they are heavy to move up and down. Not a major deal because you move them up and down, you lock them in place and they're fine. But you don't want to do a lift before your lift, right? You just want to quickly move them up and down. So a lighter product would be better for something that's moving around, but I want something that's also sturdy. So there's a weird trade-off there. But I will say, once you take the handle off, they are a lot lighter because the handles are just overdone. They're just really big, beefy. It's a multi-grip handle. They are knurling them. They are making them such a way that they have a chrome pin that locks in, folds down, and then you put another knurled knob that's on there. It's actually a locking knob. Again, majoring on the minors. The details on these, there's some pretty cool details with the knurling and everything like that. They've thought through it. Also, the weight horns are 13 inches. You can throw a lot of weight on there. They're a standard barbell size, and they actually use, this is pretty sick, a barbell end cap that they use from their barbells on the Griffin bars on these. Again, they're just like the details. They're thinking through them. The logo, laser cut. It's just like cool little stuff that's nice to have, but it's really nice to have on a product that functions really well. Personally, I would have wished they would have focused more on the things that make this like tight against the upright, lighter, just smooth, works really well, and less on the details, but I'm glad they thought through the details too. Now I will say personally, if I was gonna get these, and for just about anybody out there, I would throw these handles off, probably throw them away or put them on my rack somewhere so I could do pull-ups. And then I would attach the Worm & Strength Megalith handles. They're that good, you're gonna save money on buying the product and you can get something that just works so much better. They are sick. But one other call out, because it's worth calling out because they messed this up, and I always think this is funny. If a company sends us a product knowing we're gonna do an in-depth review and call everything out, if there's something wrong with it, it's likely that there's probably gonna be something wrong with customer orders too. So I always call it out. The handles on the jammer arms actually have the handle upside down on one of the handles. You can see it here. Basically, they welded a multi-grip handle, like the angled piece, upside down. Basically, the knurling that would be on the handle has a bar where you'd put your hand. It just feels way off. I would hope and would guess that if a customer got this, they'd reach out to Griffin and Griffin would replace it, but it's worth calling out and it is an annoyance. So lastly is the details. The details are pretty good. Laser cut logos, powder coat is good. They are offering 2 different powder coats on the arms. Basically the arms are like a matte black, something you'd find on say a Rogue Monster rack. It actually feels really good. But then the handles themselves are using a texture powder coat. I don't know if that's just because they wanted them to have more texture when you're holding them, which I think is fine. Just recognize they don't fully match each other, but I do like texture on handles. Just the details on this are generally pretty well done and not what you see often from this price point. So then, do I like them? Do I recommend them? There's just some things about them that makes me think, you know, they're less than ideal. Mainly just the shakiness of them, the way they move on the upright. I'll just say, if I was on a budget and I really wanted adjustable lever arms, right now, of the ones that I've used, I still want to try the Knurled ones, so I'd probably wait for that review. But right now, of the ones I've used, I think these could definitely be doable. You get these, you add on the megalith handles, so you're still saving money versus what the PRX ones are, and you've got a pretty serviceable pair of jammer arms. I don't know why they didn't do this. Like, why not add more holes? Like, why not make it round so you can add more holes, you have more spots for using it? But I will say, of the holes that are here, I think they're serviceable for most people that are gonna use these. So I don't have a problem recommending these, but just understand they come with their trade-offs, and I would expect even more companies coming out with jammer arms in the future. I will say, after you use the ones that can lock in, I think they change a lot of people's minds, because the ones that just hang there, they're no good. But this idea, they're starting to get better and better. And I love to see a more budget, these aren't cheap, but I like to see a more budget-friendly option. So I think some of you are probably asking, there was basically this really big wave for jammer arms, lever arms, and then people got them in and realized, they are cool looking, but they're just not very useful. And then Vendetta added the plates on the side that lock them in, and then Kaizen added with Jimpin the opportunity to go side to side. I think realizing just how much more beneficial they could be, the wave went like, oh yay, these suck, yeah. And I think we're currently at that second part of the wave where it's like, oh, these are really cool. And I think we're actually gonna stay there. I don't think it's gonna, like, you know, it may dip somewhat, but I think people are gonna realize you can do a lot with these, and companies should innovate in this category, because one thing more and more home gym owners are using and wanting is to replicate a commercial gym experience, replicate machines without taking up a ton of space, and these have the opportunity to do that. Still not fully baked, still have a lot of like improvements to be made, but you can get a lot more done when you can lock them in. Okay, what do you think of them? How do you think they compare against the others? Are you looking forward to any other jammer arms for us to recommend, or do you think jammer arms are just not something to even try? All right, this has been Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. I will see you next time. Peace.